In this video, I'm going to talk to you about how to connect to your EC2 instances, even if you don't have the original key pair that you created them with. So first thing we need is an EC2 instance to log into. And you see I've got one here, it's in the running state, and it's got these lost keys that I've conveniently lost. So there's two ways to do this, and I'll go with the easy way first. The first is you click this connect button at the top and click on EC2 Instance Connect, and you log into it using the default user, which for Amazon Linux 2 is EC2 user, and then you just click connect, and it should pop up this little prompt that logs you into your EC2 instance. Now, this only works if you have the correct permissions in your organization. So what you would have to do is you'd have to go into IAM to get the right permissions. And if you click on, well, let's just create a group. I've already created one, but let's delete it so that we can get you the correct group as well. I'm just going to call this Instance Connect. Click next step. And what we want is we want to find the EC2 Instance Connect policy, and then click next step, create the group. Then you're going to want to go and find your user, and well, actually let's just go back to the groups. I like doing it this way. Click on the Instance Connect group, say add users, click your user and add users, and that should give you the permissions you need to get into that EC2 instance. If we go back, I'm going to connect to this one more time to show you what you would do to get permanent access, because it could be kind of a pain to just come in here and click these buttons to connect every time. It'd be a lot easier if you could connect from your own SSH terminal. And so what you could do then, eventually you want to add a public key that you can get into it with. So yeah, let's actually talk about that first. The other way to connect to the EC2 instance is to use this EC2 Connect, but through a terminal. And if you want more information about all of this, there's this docs.aws.amazon.com connect using EC2 Instance Connect.html. You can go to this site and read through it to understand it, go through the setup, go through the connecting, etc., etc. There are some limitations on other machines. Amazon Linux 2 comes pre-installed with this EC2 Connect client. Ubuntu is supported for it, and I think you could probably set up some others as well, but right now I think Ubuntu and Amazon Linux 2 are the only ones that are like officially supported by Amazon. So anyway, you can read through this documentation, but I'm just going to take you through the simple steps of it. What you're going to need to do, you already gave yourself the permissions to connect to EC2 instances with this. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and jump into a terminal and create a new key set. First, we're going to make a new directory, and we'll just call it keys, pretty generic. Then we are going to type SSH keygen-t rsa-f, and then specify the name of your new key set, the private and public key. So we're just going to name them new EC2 keys. Press enter. It'll ask for a passphrase. I'm not going to use one, but you should if you're going to use these keys for anything important. Let's take a look at our public key by going into that keys directory. Right-click on the .pub file and open with Notepad. So here's our key, and I'm actually going to copy this because we're about to go give ourselves permanent access to this EC2 instance. So once you have it copied, then go back to your AWS console, click the EC2 Instance Connect, and connect. I'm going to scale this down a little so you can see it a little bit more. There we go. In here, you're going to type Vim or whatever editor you want, and basically open the SSH authorized keys file for editing. And you're just going to go down to a new line and you're going to paste in Control V. So you paste in this public key, and the EC2 instance should be able to recognize that key anytime you try to log into it now with your private key. So let's save that. I'm actually going to exit out of it, get rid of our key, and now in this console, if we type SSH-I, and the I is, it tells us to provide our key. We don't want the .pub one, we want the private one. And then since we're using an Amazon Linux 2 instance, I'm going to use EC2 user as the username. And then I need to go find the IP address. So here's my public IP address. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to paste it, and I should be able to access my EC2 instance no problem. So that's one way of doing it. Let's actually clear out our file. Now that's .ssh, so I'm going to vim.ssh authorized keys. I'm going to get rid of that for now, and if I exit and then try and do it again, you'll notice that it won't let me get in. I've got a permission denied error because my public key is not the original one or one that has been authorized. So what we need to do now is we need to use the second option of getting our public key into the authorized keys file. The way that we're going to do that is we are going to start by downloading the AWS CLI, and let's look that up. AWS CLI version 2. That looks like it. Yep, there it is. So we go here, click on Linux. That's what I'm using. It's got a lot of good information, but this is where we're going to want to start. We're going to start by running this command. It's going to pull down the information we need, the AWS CLI, and this is actually going to take a while, so I'm going to skip ahead. Perfect. Then we're going to hit install. Type in your password. So I do have a pre-existing AWS CLI installed already. So I'm going to run this update flag just so you can see what happens. Great, it's the same version. That's all you need. One thing I needed to do, I was getting some errors before when I tried to run AWS version. So I had to move my AWS CLI into a different spot. I did that by doing sudo copy user local bin AWS into user bin. And when I did that, everything started working right, and I was able to see my AWS version for the CLI. Okay, next step. You are going to need to configure your AWS CLI with the correct profile. So you're going to do something like AWS configure profile, and I'm just going to name this profile test. When I do that, it asks you for a key. I've already used test before, so it's suggesting a previous key I have. But this key is something that you find inside your Amazon console. We're going to go to IAM. And if you can't find the things you're looking for on this history console, you can just type in IAM right here and click on it. So go to IAM, go to users, find your user and click on the name. Then go to security credentials, and you're going to want to create an access key. So it just created an access key for me. I'm going to copy that key, and I'm going to paste it right here. Press enter. Now it wants the secret access key, so I'll show that. And I am actually going to change these before anyone sees this video. So these won't work for you, but you can get your own. So I paste that. I like the US East 1 region, that's North Virginia. And then my default output format, I'm going to do JSON. So now the profile is configured, and you can specify which profile you want to use to do this EC2 Instance Connect, which is the next step. And I'm actually not going to write out the code we're going to write because it's just too long, but you can pause the video and type all this into your command prompt. Once you have it all typed in, you're going to want to change a lot of stuff. We're going to change the profile to test or whatever you made your profile. Region is US East 1. That's where I deployed my EC2 instance. Instance ID. Okay, so now we've got to go get our instance ID. And that is back at the EC2 management console. Click on instances. Okay, there's my ID. I'm going to copy that. And I will paste it right there. Perfect. Availability zone, US East 1C. Is that where we were? US East 1C. Perfect. And then an EC2 user. And the file that we want is the new EC2 keys.pub. Now, when you run this command, you are going to have a temporary access token granted to you so that you can log into AWS. And if we run that, you'll see that I get this success message and I get an ID that allows me to log in. But you have to log in within 60 seconds. If you don't log in within 60 seconds, you'll just have to run the command again, which isn't very hard. But it's just giving you a temporary pass into the EC2 instance. So I'm waiting for the 60 seconds to be up so you can see that we actually can't SSH into this. So let's try it. SSH-I. Let's go back up to this command because we already ran this once. It should have been 60 seconds by now. And if I click this, enter, I get permission denied. But if you just run this command again, you get a new access token. And then you can run this within 60 seconds and you're in. So once you get here, you go through the same process that you did before to add your public key. And actually, it remembers our history. I'm going to go copy my key. Let's open this with Notepad. Copy it. Paste it in here. So there it is. And now if we type exit, and then we try and log in again, it's clearly been more than 60 seconds since the last time we used our token, but we can still get in because we put our public key in the authorized keys file. And that's it. You should have access permanently to this EC2 instance now. Thanks for watching.